Hey guys, Al here. Thank you so much for stopping by. So, Into the Badlands, of course, you know that's what we're talking today, and we're going to tackle a subject that there's been a whole bunch of conversation about because I do believe that we are going to find out something more. Remember, I said there's more coming in season 3 of Into the Badlands, and that is the introduction to guns. Will we actually see or be introduced to a firearm in season 3, episode 9 or beyond? That's what we're getting into today. Guys, real quick before we deep dive into this, I do want to say that if you've not seen the video that we did last about the Black Lotus, make sure you check that out. I'm going to link that up at the end of this video because I do want some conversation from you about what you think their purpose is and who they actually support. Now I'm going to tell you, in the comment section, some folks are saying some things that I didn't really think of, so make sure you hop over there and get into it. Also, you guys, real quickly, I am going to change the name of the channel. I do not know what that change will be, but something that's a little bit more reflective of what we're doing here other than Dark Side movie reviews, because our emphasis is not really just on movies. We cover, of course, TV shows and other things as well. So I want a name that's a little bit more representative of what we're doing here. So that's just a heads up for you guys. All right, so let's get into it. So guns in the Badlands. Should we have guns or should we not have guns? Now, before I read this statement here from Algo, one of the show's producers, I do want to say if you are new here, and you're a fan of this show and you've not subscribed and you've been wondering where on YouTube is a place where we get into it, it is this channel. I make no bones about saying that one of the goals of this channel is to provide a place for those of us who love this show to come and talk about it. So make sure that you subscribe. All right, so let's keep going. So here's an article, you guys, and I want to read this to you. This is from The Wrap, an online source. This is the name of the article, Into the Badlands showrunner on whether guns will be introduced on the show. So this is an article where Algo, one of the show creators, is answering the questions about guns in the Badlands. And guys, if you don't know, there have been tons of conversations about this on forums all over the internet, some really good forums on Reddit, tackling this question, asking about guns on the show. So I'm going to read what he says and then we're going to get into it. I'm going to give you my thoughts about whether this is or is not a good idea to introduce guns into the show. So here we go. It says AMC's Into the Badlands introduces a world where guns no longer exist, lending itself to long, elaborate, and beautiful martial arts sequences. So what happens if guns are suddenly introduced back into the narrative? Well, so this is a little bit misleading because it's not the case that guns don't actually exist. Because when you think about the fact that the Badlands has been in that kind of cataclysmic state for 500 years and the Barrens have only been in existence for about 100 years. So my thinking is that prior to that, you probably had 400 years of gun use in the midst of all the chaos before the Barrens came, right? And they gave some semblance of society to what was going on in the Badlands. So it's not so much that they don't exist. It's more so that they're there, but they've been banned. And MK even says that. You guys remember in that opening sequence, season 1, episode 1, where MK is giving that monologue and he talks about how guns were banned by the Barrens. So I just want to make sure that we get that straight. Let's keep going. All right. So this is what Al has to say in response to what would happen if guns were reintroduced into the narrative. It would end the show, showrunner Al Goa told The Wrap and other reporters on the Dublin, Ireland set of the fantasy drama series. I think we very specifically did not do that, and there's a reason, but it's not something we get into this season. So his initial statement is that it would end the show. And honestly, probably a lot of us are thinking that it would end the show as well, right? Because automatically you think a gun trumps a sword any day. But let's keep reading. Instead of guns, the heroes and villains of Into the Badlands, led by Daniel Wu, Aramis Knight, Emily Beecham, woo, the widow, that's my work wife right there. I love the widow. Don't worry, you guys, my wife knows that's my work wife. Emily Beecham and newcomer Nick Frost use swords, crossbows, sticks, and other forms of more primitive weapons, but mostly their fists. I know people are curious about guns, but it's not something we get into. He said of the upcoming season 2. We've talked about it a couple of times. In season 1, there was a storyline that we were like, no. And this season, it was like, well, maybe if they find one. But as soon as you find one, then that means that there are a lot more. And then you get into, well, what happened to all the weapons? So at this point, we don't really get into that. However, being such a deliberate omission on the show and obviously part of the show's mythology, Goa wouldn't rule out exploring it in future seasons while acknowledging things could always change. Big changes coming for season 3. That little line right there makes me think that we might be seeing a gun very, very soon. Let me keep reading this last part. You have signposts of things for the next couple of seasons, but you leave yourself open to see what happens, he said. Even for us on the writing side, they're about to start shooting the last 2 episodes this week. Then you will start to go, oh, maybe we should do this in season 3. With television, you always have to leave yourself open. All right, you guys. So listen, you know what my thoughts are on this. If you've seen anything I've done on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I'll put the link up right now, Al John Sword on Twitter, or maybe something I've said in the Facebook group, or some comment I've made on the video, or maybe in the Reddit forum or something. I am not a fan of Guns into the Badlands. And the reason I'm not a fan of Guns into the Badlands is because I feel like this show has done so much to create a world and so much to build a mythology where the current things that we have within the show work so well that if you were to introduce a game changer like a firearm into this element, I don't know how the show would survive that, particularly the martial arts aspect of the show. I mean, let's think, guys, a gun trumps a kick, a gun trumps a sword, a gun even trumps a crossbow. So how do you implement a weapon of that magnitude and still keep the mythology and just the feel and tone of Into the Badlands intact? I don't see how that's possible. Now, maybe you do. And I certainly trust Al and some of the other writers when it comes to how they write for the show. I think that's one of the most fantastic things about this show. I've always praised this show because this show is not a show that simply relies on action sequence to get people through the show. The story of this show is tremendous. The world building, all of it comes together to create such a great show. And I feel like Guns would disturb that. If you think otherwise, please let me know. If you have a scenario about how you think they could make it work in the show, then let's get into that, because I would love to hear your thought or your thinking about that. And I guess I would say that it's not that I'm necessarily anti-guns, I just don't know how they would make it work. And to that extent, it scares me, because I feel like, you know how it is like when you have a good thing going and you don't want to mess it up? I feel like that's where we are with this show right now. And I feel like Guns would disturb that vibe. It would cause that ripple in the water that would just really disrupt everything else. And I don't want to see that happen. But I could be wrong. And maybe you have some ways that you think that it could work. And I would love to know what those ways are. So those are my thoughts about Guns in the show. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's get into this, you guys. I really hope this gets some traction, because I really would like to build some discussion around it. So please make sure if you have some thoughts that you leave it in the comments below. You guys, if it hasn't already, videos to my left and my right are going to pop up. I'm going to link the video definitely about the Black Lotus and their role in this whole scenario, because I want you guys to join that conversation. I want to know what you think about it as well. There'll also be some other videos up to the left or the right, and then that little subscribe button will be popping up. A couple of things for you guys to take notice of in the comments below. Make sure that you check out Third Person's video around this topic. They get into it a little bit differently than we do, but check them out, because that video was actually part of the catalyst. I don't know if I said this before earlier in this video, of me actually bringing this to you guys to hear your feedback about what you think about Guns in the Badlands. The Facebook group. The Facebook group, guys, is amazing. I can't say enough good about it. It is a closed community of at least 8,000 plus people, might be closer to 9,000 now, from all over the world that really enjoy the show. And guys, the conversations that go on there, the questions that are asked are absolutely amazing. The different things that people are doing in that group is really phenomenal. So I'm so happy to have actually stumbled upon that group and to be a part of it. So guys, I'll see you over there. Make sure that you check them out, and their link will be in the description below as well. I don't think that I am forgetting anything. Yeah, guys, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you stay tuned. More Into the Badlands to come. Be watching as well, because you will see that channel name change in a little bit when I figure out what we're going to name it. Guys, thank you so much as always. And with that, I will see you on the next video. Peace.